Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my first Book 3 Change episode review. This one's going to be for K301, A Breath of Fresh Air. I'll be basically recording the one for episode 2 immediately after this. And then I'll record the one for episode 3 probably in a few days. We had 3 episodes yesterday. I want to give each of them their own time. And I have podcasts to prepare for and other stuff like that. Lots of stuff for me to do right now, so just giving you a brief update on scheduling and stuff like that. But yeah, Book 3 Change premiered last night. I personally thought the whole premiere was really good. Probably the best premiere just in terms of what happened in the episodes and how exciting it was that we've had for Korra. Obviously the book one will always be special because it was the return of Avatar after so long. But this one just worked really well. Everyone was really excited. They liked what they seen in the trailers. And I think everyone liked what they saw in the episodes as well. Lots of people saying like this is the best the writing has ever been. And that's really a big positive, I think. But going into specifics on this episode generally, A Breath of Fresh Air I thought was a really good opening episode. Probably the best that we've had. I do think this is probably the best first episode that we've had, just because Welcome to Republic City in Book 1 Air was I really enjoy that episode, but it's definitely a series opener that it has a lot of introduction to do, and it's very kind of basic and to the point. Last season's opener, Rebel Spirit, was interesting, had some nice setup in it, but wasn't maybe the most memorable episode from the book. This one, I think the key is just that it hits on a lot of the main points that this season is going to address. Not all of them, but it really gets you in there, and I think what really helps it out is that it's a direct continuation from how the last book ended, and that's a really big positive for me, at least. Just that going from book 1 to book 2, there was no real connection too much. And with this time round, we're seeing the direct aftermath of what Korra did in book 2, changed everything, romantic convergence, the vines obviously still being there, and what the energy wave of romantic convergence did to the world. And, that's obviously one of the key points in this book. It's created airbenders. That's like the change that we're seeing in the world right now. And this episode really does focus on the fact that the surprise of who is an airbender now and stuff like that, plus also dealing with how Republic City is reacting to all of these changes and stuff like that. So let me get into it, some specifics, have some notes. I'm going to talk through some of the main points. I'll open up with some talk about some of the new airbenders. We get a focus on 3 in this episode. Bumi, a guy called Daw, who's the guy that Korra says at the end, and then Zahir, who's one of the villains. So Bumi obviously opens the episode with a very interesting scene where we see that he still has Boomju as a friend, and that's a nice little bit of continuity that Boomju is still around. And he falls off a cliff, basically, presuming to like a really serious injury or possibly death. Saves himself by airbending for the first time ever. Huge moment. I think it's a great way to actually open the episode, just with a focus on Bumi. You're just like, why is the episode focusing on Bumi when there's so much else to address? Then you're like, oh, this is why it's focusing on Bumi, because it's a really kind of strong moment. He's just airbending. He has no idea what he's doing. He just tried to save himself, and it went from there. And then he goes to tell everyone, and the kids are obviously like, okay, let's talk about this, and they call out their father. Bumi can't actually do it in front of them. They go in to dinner, and then he still can't do it, and they're all kind of joking like, Bumi, what's he talking about? And when Milo actually throws the plate at him, I thought it was a great moment. It was very fitting that Milo was the one to do this, and he just starts doing it. The reaction was brilliant. That's the one little bit of the extended preview clip that they didn't show, the reaction to it, and I thought it was very good. Just Milo shocked, even though he kind of expected Bumi to maybe do it, and then just everyone else. Like, this was a huge moment for them as well, because they're suddenly discovering a new airbender, and especially one so close to them, like Tenzin knowing that he now has an airbender for a brother, and all of this other stuff, that now he's not kind of like the odd one out, the only non-bender in the Katang family, and it is a big moment. Over the course of the opening 3 episodes, Bumi doesn't get like a massive attention. He's with them, obviously, as like the example of um, how even like an older person learning to bend for the first time can be taught, and that he has, by the end of the 3rd episode, at least they showed in the 2nd episode, he can actually bend okay. He can do a few air blasts and stuff like that, and he's like the example. And I really hope we do get a focus on his journey to becoming kind of like an older airbender. That would be really nice. But yeah, not too much of a focus on Boomy, but I like that he's given this little plot that he was the one to really get the whole new airbenders thing into motion. Um, and then with Daw, the other airbender guy, he's the one who basically reveals that it's not just people who went to the spirit world during harmonic convergence that have this, it's just random people across the world that seem to have this ability. And just, Mako goes to investigate, gets a door blown down on his face, and the guy's freaking out because he can't control it. Like, Boomy kind of had this one where he could only use it when he was in danger. This guy seems to be able to, basically unable to control it because he's so panicked and stuff like that. So I like that there's a differentiation between, people learning to bend for the first time at this old age. Like, we haven't really seen like a kid like bending for the first time really, but we assume that it's kind of because they're so young they never do anything incredibly powerful, and they kind of are put into training before they kind of can do anything insane. But with obviously the adults, when they get their powers suddenly, it's like a really dangerous thing, as kind of shown with Dahl when he goes up onto Kyoshi Bridge, which I like the name as well. It's really cool, Kyoshi Bridge. And this does lead to a really nice moment with Korra when she goes up, and after her little journey throughout this episode of being unsure about what she did, the changes. This guy, it's kind of odd that this was the moment where she was able to kind of connect, and you can really see how much she's grown as the Avatar, and that she helps calm this guy down after like all of this change that he's going through. Admittedly, he falls off and he has to save him. She has to save him, but it was a really good scene for Korra, and then obviously it doesn't really go anywhere because the guy never wanted to be an airbender. But a key moment I took from this was that he said that you're the Avatar, you can help fix this, and she says no, when we actually know that at least last season she could use energy bending to take people's bending away. Now that could be just that she's not going to take away an innocent guy, not an innocent a guy's airbending just because he wants it got rid of. That it's a natural thing. She only does that to someone who's completely misusing their bending, or because of what happened with Rava last season, she can't airbend because she doesn't have the connection to Aang anymore, and he was the one who learned airbending, and so she may not have it because Aang passed it on to her like through Avatar kind of state stuff, spirit stuff. Not really sure on that, if that's going to be a plot point or not, but apparently Korra maybe can't use energy bending to take people's bending away or give it back. But yeah, there's that. And finally, the final scene of the episode is Zahir, who is one of our group of 4 villains, and he's imprisoned in a place that looks to be near one of the air temples, or at least in the mountain range where one of the air temples is. He's imprisoned there by the Order of the White Lotus, and we see that this is the case for all of these 4 villains. And Zahir is the leader, and he's also a non-bender by, I suppose, before harmonic convergence. And because of harmonic convergence, he's given the power of airbending. And it was a really cool scene because, they go to give him his food, and he starts talking to them about airbending poetry, and this guy who found the secret of weightlessness, and he starts saying giving this kind of like almost like advice, this kind of mantra that he lives his life by. You do sort of wonder, like, why did this guy, who only found out he was an airbender a few weeks ago while he was still in prison, how did he read airbending poetry? How did he train himself up enough to basically become like a master airbender? And he is amazing because like he breaks out of jail, like he's in jail, there's bars between them, and he takes out like 5 Ordered White Lotus guards fairly easily and traps them before leaving, saying that he wants to end the Ordered White Lotus and also the Avatar, so as the Avatar being the main goal. And even by the end of episode 3 that we've seen, we don't know what the kind of a goal of this group is, why they want to get rid of the Avatar. I assume they just want revenge on the Ordered White Lotus for trapping them, for being the ones that are keeping them imprisoned. But still, it's really interesting, the whole idea that this guy he seems to like airbending culture, he just is evil. And that's a really cool idea for a character, I think. Other talking point from the episode would be the whole Vines and Korra Raiko approval rating. I like that they did the whole thing where like these vines are staying. They are spirits themselves in a way, but even Korra's spirit bending can't actually get rid of them. They go away when she uses the light bending technique, but they come straight back even more kind of violently and take over more space. And that's interesting because it kind of does show that this is the way the world is meant to be now because of harmonic convergence. You can't. Korra's made a change in the world. She can't just change it back, which I suppose is her getting rid of the vines. That Republic City from here on out is always going to be this place where humans and spirits live. So I think I said this in the live chat I was doing on Facebook with some of the people from the site, that it now makes Republic City like the place of complete balance in the world, because you've got people of all 4 nations plus spirits living in the Republic City now as well. And if they can learn to exist harmoniously, that's going to be the place of like perfect balance in the world. But obviously the problem here is that the spirits don't seem to really care that they're interrupting the lives of people who live in the city, and the people who live in the city have no time for the spirits kind of just invading the place effectively, and so the spirits and humans aren't really getting along well. I did find it interesting that the spirits weren't made to be a big issue. Like I think we only saw like one spirit. Well, we saw Janora with a couple at the start, but after that we only saw like one spirit in the whole episode, which was interesting in that it seems like the vines are more of a problem than the spirits themselves, which I found interesting. Or else just not that many spirits have actually come into the physical world and stuff like that. I assume we will get more details about, like what way, how it works exactly. Like, is there someone guarding the portals to allow only a certain amount of spirits or humans in back and forth, or what? But either way, the key thing here is that it's kind of a media battle between Raiko and Korra. Both have very low approval ratings in the city, but Raiko is blaming everything on Korra because this is her fault. And then I love the moment where she completely owns Raiko, kind of on the microphone, just like, could your administration defeat Unavatu? He's like, no, didn't think so, before Lin breaks them apart. Because that's the big thing with Raiko throughout this episode. I said last book that I absolutely hated the character because he just was so against Korra and wouldn't listen to her even at the end. And then in this episode he does the exact same thing. With Korra, he has the one person who has any chance of doing anything to help the spirits because she has probably the best relationship with the spirits, and she is the Avatar and has all these extra powers that can help. And by the end of the episode, he basically banishes her from Republic City because she's causing problems trying to help out, and it's just a really weird situation where it's just like, you really think things are going to get better just by getting rid of Korra. It's like, that's fantastic. Like, I found it interesting in itself that Korra and everyone leaves the city, and by the end of episode 3 we haven't seen the city again really. So I'm eager to see if Republic City becomes like a plot point towards the middle part of the book going into the end, or are we done with it for this book, and what actually happens in Republic City is maybe going to be addressed in book 4, and this one's going to focus more on the Earth Kingdom and airbenders, and then we'll come back to Republic City and making that the kind of place of balance that I talked about. What else do I have here? Little note on just Korra having a airbender glider. That was really cool. It looks exactly like Aang's glider from Book 3, the one that the Mechanist makes for him with the snack compartment. I don't know if it's the exact same one because they didn't address it, and I felt like if it was, they would have. But they can still do that. I just think it's cool that it looks identical. When I think the other Airbenders, struggling to remember like Janor's glider from Book 1 and stuff like that. But yeah, I think they just had the normal gliders like Aang had in the first book, and Korra's one is the kind of special one with the blue on it. But what else do I have here? Just a little note on Bolin loves being in a big family. In the scene just before Bumi reveals he can airbend, this was a nice setup for what happens in episode 3 with Bolin and Mako finding their family. That Bolin just really, having been an orphan for so long, just loves the idea of having a big family. And like, it was a funny moment where he points out all the kind of like character types that they are, just like the crazy uncle, angry dad, and stuff like that. That crazy kids and stuff like that. That was a nice moment, and a nice little bit of setup that Mako and Bolin are going to have this more kind of family orientated arc. That was really cool. Um, Mako staying at the police station. Mako had I felt some really good development over the course of these episodes. Primarily in episode 1 and 3, though. In episode 1, I think a little bit in next 2 actually. Like overall, it was very kind of well done in that he's staying in the police station because he doesn't want to be around Korra and Asami because he's very uh, awkward around them, embarrassed. Like he doesn't want to kind of be around them because he thinks it's going to be super awkward because he broke up with Korra and obviously had all the stuff going on with Asami last book as well. And I think he says in episode 2 that he just he kind of feels out of place in the team now because of what's happened, and is unsure if he kind of should be around them or not. And the thing is, the girls just want him to kind of act normally around them again. They have no problem with it. It's kind of all on him. And that kind of like really makes you kind of like Mako. Like I actually haven't had much of a problem with Mako over the first 2 books, but I like that this is kind of being addressed, and I think some of the people that dislike him are beginning to kind of turn around on him because they're making it kind of more of a meaningful plot point that he realizes that it's awkward, and that things will take a while to get back to normal fully, but I kind of like where they're going with it. He's still awkward, and it makes for a nice kind of humorous thing because Korra is kind of completely fine talking to him, but the other way around, it's just crazy. And there's some nice moments in the later episodes. Um, what else do we have here? Asami and Korra, we really see a little bit more on their friendship, with the whole driving scene and then what happens there. Um, they're joking about how awkward Mako is around the two of them. They have the scene where they both address the fact that they kiss Mako while they were in the relationship with the other. It was really kind of a funny moment, but it just ended with the fact that Korra is just happy that nothing's got between them, and that she's happy to just have a girlfriend who she could talk to, who she really hasn't had since Naga, and Naga can't speak. But it was just a nice moment. Let's see what else. Just two more scenes to talk about. One focuses on Tenzin, the other is on Korra and Tenzin. Tenzin kind of meditating and then crying when the kids come over, that he's sad that he's happy that like air nomads are coming back after so long, but he's sad that Aang wasn't there to see it. It was just a nice moment, and then the kids kind of talk about it. Mila wants to be a commander. They can't have an army, but maybe they can fill the air temples if it's a big enough of a success. Um, it's just a really kind of nice moment. And then the other scene is Korra and Tenzin talking. This is kind of that classic mentor kind of role, in that Tenzin can't really be her spiritual mentor anymore, but he can still just be a mentor to her just as a person, in that he is quite wise. And she says that she reveals she can't reconnect. She's tried but can't reconnect with the past avatars. And she's very concerned and like lacking in confidence about what she did. That everyone's like against what she did, but Tenzin just says to her, like, you're not going to make everyone happy, but you have made me happy because airbenders are back, and that's something to be positive about. You're making a good change in the world, bringing balance back to air nomad with the other nations. And this leads to basically Korra's end of the episode, where she decides that, she's banished from Republic City. Her next port of call is to actively pursue getting the airbenders back, and I like that was the kind of thing that's her plot for this book. She wants to bring the airbenders back. That's something she can accomplish, something she can accomplish without having to deal with President Raiko again. Man, I hate that guy. But yeah, that's been my review for the episode. First episode was very, very good. I think it is probably the best first episode we've had of Korra. As I said, I just had some very nice moments. The writing, I feel, is the best it's been on Korra. Not that book 1 or 2 have been bad, but this just feels really good. Lots of funny moments, lots of emotional moments, family moments, great action scenes as well. I don't really have much of a problem with this first episode at all. But yeah, that's been the review. Thanks for watching. And yeah, you'll see the episode 2 review go up in probably a few hours after this one though. So thanks for watching. Bye.